What's up, guys? It's Max here, and I just got back in town from Detroit. I got to spend so much time with people who have spent time building their business over the years. And one thing that I was telling them about that they really needed to understand was everybody needs to get insurance. I see these guys work so hard to build their business, and the last thing you want is something simple to come along, an accident happen, you lose everything. So with that said, I want to introduce our sponsor for this video.
Wholesaling and flipping can be fun until an accident happens. Now, small business insurance isn't something that's always on the top of our mind, but it's something you need when you're starting a business like ours. Next Insurance is dedicated to small business, and they have coverage tailored to exactly what your business needs. To get a quote, it's fast and easy. You can do everything on your phone quickly. You can even get a certificate assurance on the fly. I mean, like, how cool is that? You can even make one right at your new flip. If anything happens, it's hassle-free claims all online, anywhere, anytime. And the best thing is, most of these claims get resolved within 4 to 8 hours. And the best part is, it's up to 30% cheaper than their competitors. Now that's a good deal. So what are you waiting for? Check the link out in the description to get your free quote today. Listen, don't ruin all your hard work with something that can be preventable. Now let's get back to the video.
I went to Charlotte to go visit Nas one day, and he was just stunting on me, showing me all his properties, right? Now, he was cleaning out like a triplex or a fourplex or something like that, and he was like, you own this? I was like, you own it? He's like, yeah, I own all this. And then he was gonna go to another one right after that, and I was like, I'm tripping. I'm wholesaling, making $1 million plus. Why am I not buying? I had a couple properties, but the reality is, it doesn't slow you down to build a rental portfolio inside of your wholesaling business. The reason is because all of my rentals actually come from my wholesaling business. I just decided I'm gonna keep it. So when the deal comes across my desk, I'm like, yeah, take that one off the table, right? And so every time you have a wholesaling business, and I didn't learn this till probably about 2 years in, you need to have a business plan, right? Most of us just go in there, we start wholesaling, we start making money. We don't got no business plan, we just know we're making money, right? The reality is, one of my mentors told me I need to come up with a business plan. And it was real simple. He was like, listen, for every 6 you buy, for every 6 you wholesale, buy one. And that forces you to be a little bit more responsible with all that money you're coming through. But then once you buy one and you buy two, it starts to get addicting. But what you start to figure out is you start to keep the best deals possible. Like, oh, I'm about to make 50 on this wholesale deal. You know what? I'm gonna keep this because I've passed enough wealth to somebody I don't know. So you start to keep that wealth for yourself. So it never gets in the way. And so what I do in my company is, obviously we wholesale, we have partnerships where we do JV deals as far as like rehabs, and we have our own rehabs. And then we have me. I'm just a buyer in my company, but I get first dibs, right? Because I still have to pay my salespeople for the deal. I just say, yo, I'm gonna take this one off the table. Here goes the commission for the deal. And so that's how it runs. And so I get first dibs, and once I get first dibs, my brother gets second dibs, and then Francis gets third dibs. And so we keep, now these days, we really keep about 70% of the deals that flow through inside of our family, right? And so really everybody works in the office, we start to buy them up ourselves. And so that's just how we roll. And so it doesn't get in your way, just put yourself as the buyer. Yeah. But now management on the other hand, yeah. So the management, what you should do is, if you don't want to deal with that, what I did was I just hired somebody in my office and they take care of that and to have some other responsibilities. But sub it out, pay the 10%. What happens is you should really, let's talk particularly sub 2. Subject 2 is when you take over a mortgage, you don't take over, you assume the risk. That's not even the right word either, yeah, no, right? Let me stop, because it's the words that get you in trouble. Essentially, you become responsible with the owner to make the payments, right? And sub 2 happens, it's a lot of my great flips have come from sub 2s. A lot of properties that I own now are sub 2s with crazy upsides that I go and do, contract for deeds or something like that. I know we get a little crazy. But essentially what happens is you have a mortgage that somebody no longer can afford or wants to pay. And they have some equity in the house, but not enough to just outright sell it, or it really doesn't make sense for them, or their back is against the wall and they need to do something now. I'll give you a typical scenario, especially now coming down the pipeline with a lot of these forbearances going to be stopped come January, right? So people are behind on their mortgage. Let's just say you got a house that's worth $150,000, you owe $125,000. There's really not much room there, right? But there is. Let's just say you owe $120, but it's worth $145, right? a little bit of room there, but not much to really do a wholesale deal, not much to do any put any money into it to really flip if you need some flipping. So what you would do is you would say, hey seller, listen, you're about to lose this house. You owe $6,000 in back mortgages. How about this? I'll pay the $6,000 in back mortgages. I'll give you a couple grand so you can go get a new apartment or a condominium. And I'm gonna be responsible for this mortgage over here. They're gonna deed me the property in a trust. And this is what the things you gotta learn. The property gets put into a trust that sounds very similar to the family name, right? And so if I'm buying it from the Jones, it's gonna be the Jones Family Trust, 123 Main Street. Just not triggering the bank to wanna do a dude on sale clause. Now, banks, in every mortgage that you have, you can do a dude on sale clause, but banks don't wanna actually own property. They make money by lending money. And so with that responsibility, I now have the deed. The mortgage is still inside of the previous owner's name, so I don't get the debt to income problem on my name. And let's just say the mortgage is $1,000, and if I can rent it out for $400 or $500, then I'm gonna cash flow a little bit of money each month. But what happens is that debt starts to go down and down and down. Or if in more recent times, in the last couple of years, properties have went up 20, 30%. And so now what was worth 145 may be worth 165, 170. And so if you don't, you can then either cash out by selling it or just keep cash flowing it each month. And so that's one way. So I love sub-twos. It's you have to find somebody who's good at it so you can get all the paperwork done right up front. And once you get all the paperwork done right up front, everything on the back end works wonderfully. But there is a clause in the back of your head that you know that the bank can call that loan due at any moment. And you gotta be financially responsible to either be able to go get a new loan or pay that thing off. And that's why I'm glad I didn't really do too many of those in my first 2 years. Yeah, and so that's the scary, but that's one part of creative financing. Anaz, I'm sure you've done deals as well too like that. Yeah. That's a good question. He asked, how do you scale your wholesaling business from a one-person operation into something like Naz and I have? It really just comes down to a repetitive process, right? If you got the first deal, do the same thing to get the second deal, right? But what a lot of people don't do is they don't reverse engineer how they got the first deal. Like, oh, got a deal done, close, all right, let's move to the next. You gotta really open up that deal and see what happened. Right? What happened? How did you get this? What was the customer? What was the avatar of the customer? Were they behind on their mortgage? Were they behind on taxes? Did they own it free and clear? Was it something that came through probate? You know, these type of things, and then you maybe start targeting those type of people so you can make it a repetitive process. But it really comes down to just removing Well, first thing you want to do, if you're a one-man show right now, you want to start documenting your process on how you do everything right now. That was one thing mistake I made. And I'm literally talking about screen recording how you find data, recording yourself doing phone calls, recording yourself, all the processes you do, because at one time you're gonna hand off those responsibilities to somebody else, and you're gonna have this documentation of how you've done it. And that's that simple. And so you set the next person up for success by recording what you're doing now. Because the reality is most people are never gonna live up to your potential as an employee, but you want to give them the best shot possible by preparing them documentation now. And so once you do one deal, you can do 2 deals. If you can do 2 deals, you can do 10. If you can do 10, you can do 20. It all depends about what your mental elasticity is, what you can do. And so it's really not that hard, but in the beginning, I wouldn't focus on that. I would just focus on getting deal 2, consistently getting 2 deals, 4 deals, and it will come to you. Just make sure you're documenting now so that the process is easier to start delegating responsibilities. What happens is, the reality is, you got somebody 12 hours away that that may know the phone systems, may understand some of the lingo, but you really gotta spend time with them. And so just find a whole new way. If you wanna go through the process yourself, they got this website called onlinejobs.ph, and that's your direct connect to the Philippines. And you put your own screening questions up there, because if you got documentation and you know what you want them to be, they're out there trying to work for themselves. There is some services that have them vetted already, but you really got to spend time with your virtual assistants to get them good. And you guys already have. Don't hold on to a bad employee too long. It really boils down to people think anything you want to obtain is going to be difficult to do. And it really boils down to how much you really want it. you're probably comfortable now being uncomfortable, so you don't care, right? And so that's the reality, is when your back is against the wall, you do things that you never thought you could ever do in your life. So it really boils down to you seeing success and thinking you want it, or knowing that you have to go get it. And that's the difference between somebody that gets to where they want to get to and somebody that dreams about where they want to go. It's simply just going out there and actually doing it. And so before you leave, you need to walk up to Asia and her team and say, listen, what do I need to do? I need to learn. What do you want me to go do? She may give you 10 things to go do. I bet you won't do them. Right? And so that's the reality of the fact. Like, I've held conferences with 1,200 people in there. The statistic is that 95% of the people in there won't actually go take no action in what they did. They just paid me $1,200 for a ticket. They gonna take no action? And then out of the 5% that actually gonna do something, the other 3% of that gonna quit. 50% of those people gonna quit. So out of all those people, only 1% is actually gonna try, and half of that 1% is actually gonna keep trying. So it's, do you really want it, or do you think you want it? Right? Because working a 9-to-5 making $50,000, $70,000 ain't really that bad. And that's where some people get stuck in that road. So you wake up every morning, you go do the 9-to-5, you come back, your bills paid, you got a little money, you can go do what you want to do. But do you really want it? Because looking at it on social looks good. It looks good when you see somebody flying a plane, or he go buy a brand new BMW. So it really boils down to what your goal is with that. Whether it's passive income, whether it's active income, doing flips and stuff like that. Where do you see yourself? Active income, flipping, right? Okay. And so I'm assuming you're probably gonna come to the table with at least some starting money to get started? Got it. And so you have some people in here like Asia that knows this market. Like, I don't know anything about this market, but she's also a GC. And so what I would do is, the first thing I would probably do is just partner on a couple deals, in my opinion, if she does that, or whatever, and learn the good areas, the bad areas, learn the ins and outs, right? Because the last thing you want to do is take your dad's hard-earned money for all these years and go into it on your own and lose, right? So you rather get half of a watermelon than all of a grape, right? And so it may take you time to get to where you want to be, but it won't be as long as you think. And so that really boils down to working with people that you trust in order to build that. And so I would find somebody in your community that's in it, because there's so many different aspects to when somebody says they want to get into real estate, and the fix and flip game is a difficult game, right? Correct. I like that attitude. But sometimes that risk could take people under. And so what it is you want to master a couple techniques and do them over and over again, right? And so you can become a general practitioner, right, when it comes to being a doctor and just be a family practice. Or you can be a foot doctor and know everything there is about the foot. And so that's how I like to approach any of my companies. I like to live in the niche. That's where I make my money, is in the niche. Marketing is something that doesn't work for everybody, right? So for example, you have text messaging, right? How many of you guys get unwanted texts every day now? It's a new thing, right? But how many of you guys read every single text message that comes to your phone? I know women don't, but most guys do, right? And so some people, they say older people check their mailbox every single day, go through every single piece of mail that's in there, right? Some people answer every single phone call that comes to their phone. Francis does. He never, no matter what he's doing. I called him the other day, he was like, I'm in a continuing ed meeting. Like, you didn't have to answer, you just press the buttons, so it depends what that person likes to be talked to and what the way they like to be talked to. And so I think it's more important to focus on the type of people you're gonna go after versus the type of marketing you're gonna use. But if your funds are limited and you wanna use a certain marketing, do something that you're gonna do consistently so you can actually measure the results. So whatever you wanna be consistent at, cold calling, whether it's text messaging, whatever it is, be consistent at it and you're gonna see results. And the reason why I'm asking is because I don't wanna give you the easy answer, because you're not asking it for the easy answer, right? There's reason why you're asking, because you think there's an easy button behind my answer, right? And so I would, and I'm not, it's just how I deal with people, because there's a There's another reason behind answering it. And so me just telling you, yo, probate, do this, do that, is not gonna fix the actual problem you have. I wanna fix the way you think about the problem to begin with, so that you can solve it on your own moving forward. I'm not gonna give you the fish, I wanna teach you how to do it so you can do it again next time. So it's the method of thinking is the way that most of us need to change the way we do everything, the way we see something and identify it and see a problem and create an opportunity. So that's the real thing I like to teach people, is to see that. And so the insides of what I'm saying to you is that there's problems in real estate all across the board, right? And so what we do in our business is we specialize in solving problems, right? And so that just forget that it's real estate, forget that it has to do anything with title companies. You solve problems. You just happen to solve problems in the world of real estate. And so when you start to think like that, you start to identify, right? This is where we're wired different. We're gonna go search for 2-3 days and learn everything about what the actual forbearance is. We're not reading headlines. We're going deep inside of it to figure out what it actually is. And then we're gonna be like, oh crap, they got 3 government programs, 2 federal, 1 by the city. Let's look in to see what these programs are used for in order to help these people out of these forbearances, right? So now when I find the list of people that are in forbearance, I'm not gonna call and say you wanna sell your house. I'm gonna call you and say, hey, do you know there's 2 federal programs that you can use to get out of your situation that you're in? Because what did I do? I offered to solve their problem. I didn't say, let me buy your house, because who wants to move out of the house they've been living in? That's what the other 12 calls that you're getting, that's the same thing they saying. But what I'm saying differently is, did you know that the city has a program? Did you know that there's 2 programs federally? Tell me about them. You know what? I've been researching the whole week. What you want to talk about? And you list out these things they can do. And you start to offer help. So instead of getting your face hung up in 12 times because they think you're the 12th caller, now you're having a conversation with somebody. But when they come to the realization, it might be out of 10 people you call, 6 of them might talk to you. But if you called and approached them last time, 0 of them will talk to you. But now, out of 6 people talking to you, half of them realize they're not qualified for that program. And now you've created rapport with them, and now they're willing to think about the other options that they have available. Yeah, so I recently, within the last 8 months, moved to I have virtual assistants that do tasks online, but I have no virtual cold callers, no virtual people speak to anybody in my city. I just found out that, like, you know, so because like when you call somebody, you can say what up though. Ain't no VA gonna say what up though, you know. And so it's just that whole, it's different. Like, you know, I'm from the South where we speak with a twang, and you know, around the Walmart, around the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like my local people can do that much better. I pay a little bit more money, but I get better results. I get better conversions, and so that's where we've been for the most of this year, and I love it. All in house. And so if you're not really to take that step, then find a new set of VAs probably. You see what I just took? A whole something so simple that everybody's talking about but nobody knows nothing about, and I'm moving in a totally different direction. That's what makes us wired differently. And that's current day right there. That's just spitballing of what it is. And so just take the approach of what everybody else is talking about, just dial it a little bit differently and go in it. So when I started, the reason why I was so good at probate and taxes is because I took my first deal and I reverse engineered my first deal. My first deal was a lady named Amy Honeycutt Mitchell. Never forget it, September 28th, 2016, right? She had a house that she inherited it. It was behind on taxes and had tall grass, right? So she was probate and taxes. So when I got that $14,000 check after having a negative bank account, right? I felt like I was the richest man in the world, but I wanted to figure out how I could do that again. So I started saying, how can you fall behind on your taxes? Searched everywhere online. I ended up on the North Carolina General State Statute. General State Statutes is where every single state writes their rules on how they have to do every single thing. That's where the laws are written. So I start diving deep. Control F, find the word taxes. Comes up, I start going even deeper. So I start reading the state statute on how every single county has to do the way they do their processing of foreclosing on properties that have taxes. They list out that you have to do these steps. Well, guess what? People that was making the phone calls didn't know that. So what did I do? I ran out to the probate office that people didn't even know you can go. And they let me behind the counter into the room. Matter of fact, I was so crazy, I put it on Instagram like a fool. Like, yo, check, I'm in the probate room. 2 months later, they shut it down. But the point that I was making was,
the point that I was making is that I got in that room, and in those 2 months, I cleaned up. I'm opening files, and inside those files, guess what I'm seeing? The executor of estate. That means the person that came over there, filled out the paperwork for the person that has the probate. Guess what's sitting there? Their phone number, their address. Why they put that there? Because they want the county to call them when the time was necessary to move to the next step. So right here, I'm taking pictures. I'm making 100 phone calls. Guess how many people answer? 100. What do you think my success rate was on that? Right? Cleaning up. So I got there first because I read the rules of the list of the processes, and the first piece of paper that you got to fill out is a administrator of estate. That's the first public profile in the entire system of probate, is that one sheet of paper. And it has all the information. You guess what? I didn't have to spend money on skip tracing because all the information was there. So what I'm telling you is there's this nerd level of success that you got to dive deep into. Why? Because I was so hungry. I was living at my mom's house at 30 years old. Here I am, I left at 17 I left home at 17 to go to the military, come back broke at 30. That'll mess with your head. So I had to do what I had to do. And so the reason why I didn't just want your question answered, it's easy because you weren't gonna do anything with it. I wanted to change the way you thought about approaching the actual problem to begin with. And so that's why I wanted to tell you the full story versus actually giving you an answer.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching today's video. And don't forget, if you're a business owner just like me, check the link below for Next Insurance. It's the simple, easy way to get insurance for all types of business, and you can do it right from your phone. You'd be silly not to try it out. Everything from auto, general liability, and every type of insurance you could think of. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.